All right, with that documentary of His Love Foundation, I want to say welcome to the Trinity Towers, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, City of David here in Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. And today, we're bringing you the live program of the His Love Foundation International CSR Conference, which is reaching you live here at the auditorium. My name is Lilian Ogedegbe, and the theme for this beautiful conference is Driving Collaboration for Sustainable Development. And the key speaker for this conference is Professor Windun. He is the president and founder of CSR Institute in Montreal, Canada. I'm Lilian Ogedegbe. Welcome to His Love Foundation International CSR Conference. This is the charity arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Right now, we're taking you to the podium where the program has officially begun. God bless you.
It's our pleasure to welcome the chairman of His Love Foundation to give us a peep into what they have done and will continue to do. Please welcome Pastor Yesufu Abiodun.
Praise the name of the Lord. Let's clap for Jesus. Hallelujah. Thank you so much for attending, and I'd like to salute all those that are online also. I'd also like to salute my sweetheart of 44 years, Pastor Dr. Shiju Iliomade, who is supposed to be with us. If you are talking about sustainability, staying with one woman for 44 years, I think that's what you call sustainability. Praise the name of the Lord. I'd like to welcome every one of us to this maiden conference, an international conference, and it's themed Driving Collaboration for Sustainable Development. And this conference, as you all know, is being hosted by His Love Foundation, which is the charity arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I'd like to appreciate our General Overseer, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, and his lovely honeysuckle of well over 50 years, Pastor Fulu Adeboye. Can we just clap for Jesus, for our fathers and mothers? Amen. Hallelujah. And interestingly, the keynote speaker of today and my team, we interacted for the very first time many years ago, I think 2018 or 2019, when he had a conference at the Canadian Embassy, and was the first international conference that we were attending because we had just been birthed then. And it was a wonderful conference that left a lasting impression on us. And we kept in touch. And that is why when this conference came up, we said, that is the person that would help us to drive this conference. Once more, can we just appreciate Professor Windun? Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the name of the Lord. So the question that we are asking is that why are we here? Why do we do CSR? And what is CSR? Most people, when they hear CSR, they think of corporate social responsibility. But we have been able to make a case for Christian social responsibility, which is what we call our own type of faith-based CSR. You see, years ago, we discovered that the term CSR should be Christian social responsibility and not corporate social responsibility, because the fundamental principles of CSR are enshrined in the most salutary injunction of God to love your neighbor as yourself. And really, on a lighter mood, we can say that CSR began from the very, very beginning when God bridged the infrastructure gap by creating bright lights that positively impacted and still impacts our world till today. When in Genesis 12 he said, "Let there be light." Praise the name of the Lord. But you see, like many contemporary words, the word company, that is the fulcrum of corporate social responsibility, has its root in Latin and is derived from two words, cum and panis, which means breaking bread together. So we believe that the origin of CSR, breaking bread together, that has communal and social connotation, that speaks of the way of life of the early Christians, must have its roots way back in the beginning, thousands of years ago. Because in the book of Acts, we believe that we can see how people were living together, sharing things together. And this was predated by what happened in Leviticus 25 and 35, which was written by Moses about 1300 BC. The Bible says that there was communal living, and even the poor that find themselves into poverty needed to be helped like a stranger. So this way of life had endured even before the first and the oldest company in the world, called Congo Gumi, was incorporated in 578 AD. That's less than 2,000 years ago. So, in defining CSR, we would say that Christian social responsibility is a faith-based obligation to meet ethical and societal needs through the demonstration of love, and the kind of love that positively impacts the environment, the communities, and individuals. So for us, simply put, CSR, Christian social responsibility, is love in action. We've been able to change this narrative so much that the term Christian social responsibility has caught the attention of major institutions like the BBC, that came to do a documentary on our own type of CSR. Apart from that, the big Ivy League universities also have been able to do documentaries and research using our organization as a case study. For example, Cambridge University, they did a case study on us, the case of religion and development in Nigeria, through the case of RCG. Virgil University in the Netherlands, their own was social praxis in holistic Pentecostal missiology, an evangelical perspective on mission practice of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCG, in Nigeria. Ashbury Theological Seminary in Kentucky, USA, there is how are the fastest growing churches in Nigeria intersecting or interacting with the poor with poverty alleviation. And our own University of Ife, that I'd love to call it. In my days, we used to call it Great Ife. And if you went to University of Ife, if you are here, when I say Great Ife, you say great. Great Ife, great. So, but now they call it Obafemi Awolowo University. They did a study of corporate social responsibility practices in selected organizations in delivery of infrastructure projects in Lagos State. And they were all attracted because we stood out and said that this thing really should have its roots in how the way of life of early Christians was. And for us, we choose to call it Christian social responsibility. However, whether it's Christian social responsibility or corporate social responsibility, we thank God that there's an alignment as both terminologies seek to create stakeholder engagement, business value, social value, and environmental stewardship. So whether you call it corporate social responsibility or Christian social responsibility, we have the same focus, and that is why we're all here today. Now, one thing that is most important in life, in business, is you need to know your purpose, the why you are doing something. If you do not know the why, it's not likely that whatever you are doing will endure or will be sustainable. So for us, we discovered the why. And it is because we know the why we're doing CSR that makes our vision sustainable to endure and meet the future, present and future needs of our society. For us, CSR is compelling. And our why or our purpose, why we're doing it, is first that it's a matter of life and death. And why do we say this? Because at the end of the age, when we all pass from this world, the Bible tells us in Matthew 25, 41 to 46, that the questions they're going to ask every one of us, whether corporate, CEO, or member, or an individual in society, on Judgment Day, is CSR questions. And you can see all that in Matthew 25, 41 to 46, Matthew 25, 41 to 46. They will ask simple questions like, I was hungry. Did you pick up a burden for me? Did you feed me? I was poor. Did you care? I was thirsty. Did you give me drink? I was a stranger. Did you create shelter for me? I was sick. Did you pick up a burden for me? Did you visit me? I was in prison. Did you care? You know, these are all CSR questions. And they've told us in advance that when you get to heaven, your passage to heaven is if you can answer these questions. If you cannot answer these questions with data that are being checked and being written even in heaven, then I pray not, your home will be in hell. That is why for us, it is compelling. We just must do CSR. This is our why. And this is why we're so driven, we're so passionate, we're focused, and continue to do CSR with or without any financial prowess. We see a compelling future, and because we can see it and we can start it, we connect this work called CSR with our hearts, our time, our energy, our resources, our skills, so that we can bring this dream of the future to pass without any compromise. Now, today's conference is themed Driving Collaboration for Sustainable Development. Sustainable development can be defined as meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising on the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. There's an emphasis on sustainability, which creates a balance of meeting present needs without compromise of the future needs of generations yet to come. So, basically, how do we solve today's problems without creating a problem for tomorrow? You can see all the problems created by global warming, and now people are going green and doing things. It's because they are thinking of sustainability and how solving the problems of today will not affect those that are coming tomorrow. So it is important when we are thinking of sustainability development, we must support the long-term goal with implementation of systems, frameworks, and support for global, national, and local entities. And one of the ways that we are preferring to do this is by driving collaboration. We have collaborated over the years with various other foundations, and those foundations, we shared common goals and shared values. Today, we're not merely participants in a conference, we are architects of the future. Each one of us represents a piece of a puzzle, a vital cog in the machinery of progress. And it is through collaboration, through synergy of ideas, of resources, of networks, of expertise, that we'll be able to pave a way forward to the future that we desire. His Love Foundation, our foundation, is the image of effective and transparent collaboration. We have over the years collaborated with other foundations and stakeholders, and some of them are here in order to achieve a win-win situation. Now, what makes HLF, His Love Foundation, attractive? It is because in Nigeria alone, We have footprints and offices in over 49,311 centers spread in 36 states and FCT in 650 local government areas in Nigeria. I think we need to clap for that. Amen. Hallelujah. That is a huge spread. Amen. And we also have footprints in 197 nations of the world. And over the years, last 6 years, we have spent over 70 billion naira, which, depending on the kind of translation, is well over 50 million US dollars on 2,199,480 projects. That's over 2 million projects, covering all the key areas that align with the United Nations SDG goals. We operate in education, that is SDG 4, health, SDG 3, hunger, SDG 2, prison or corrective centers, SDG 2, SDG 3, 4, 16, and 17, social enterprise, SDG 1, and SDG 8, and rehabilitation, which is SDG 5 and SDG 16. Let's just clap for Jesus for this. Amen. Hallelujah. And our reporting model is top-notch. We report our activities through a very transparent and centralized data gathering portal every day. And we collect everything every month. It's secure and easily accessible. Our reporting follows the Global Reporting Standards. That's what we call GRI. So no matter how dedicated or well-funded a singular organization may be, we cannot aim to tackle the complex issues we face in our world alone. It's the understanding that by pulling our talents, our resources, our perspectives together, that we can achieve far more together than we could ever do apart. They say that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. We are better together. Any organization that chooses to partner with us does not have to set up offices or hire staff or foot soldiers in any of the 36 states of our nation and the FCT, or in any 197 nation of the world where we already have footprints. This necessarily will reduce any amount you could have budgeted for building infrastructure and getting staff to support your good works. We can do this for you. And that is why they call us the beautiful bride. Let's clap for the beautiful bride called HLF. Now, collaboration is more than just a means to an end. It's a mindset, a commitment to shared goals and collective action. It requires us to set aside ego and territorialism in favor of cooperation and mutual support. It challenges us to listen as much as we speak, to learn from each other, from our successes, from our failures, and to embrace diversity in all forms. We need to collaborate on projects that address common sustainability goals and priorities, thereby maximizing impact. We need to share best practices, lessons learned, and successful strategies to promote knowledge, exchange, and continuous improvement, while sometimes we need to co-create solutions to sustainable challenges by the time we begin to network. And we find out that innovation will be promoted, initiatives become effective and sustainable in the long run. And by this doing, we'll be able to establish metrics and indicators to measure the impact for collaboration initiatives. Today, as we embark on this journey together, let us be guided by the spirit of collaboration in all that we do. Let us seek our common ground, build bridges across divides, forge partnerships that transcend boundaries. Let us harness the power of technology, innovation, and grassroots activism to drive meaningful change in communities around the globe. People of God, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that I believe that this is the first time that NGOs and all kinds of companies and businesses are called together to see how they can collaborate. And I pray that at the end of it all, we'll achieve the vision of this conference. So I welcome you once more to this conference, and we look forward to joining our hands together for the greater good and a brighter future for this generation and indeed for the future generations to come. So, finally, when you think CSR, think driving collaboration for sustainable development. Think first HLF, His Love Foundation. We are better together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Ido Iluyomade. It couldn't have been better said. And goal 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals talks about partnership for the goals. That is an open invitation that has been extended to everyone, corporate individuals, by Pastor Iluyomade. HLF is the beautiful bride. You don't need to set up offices across the Federation. Make us your foot soldiers, and we will go the whole 9 yards for you. Thank you very much again, Pastor. Today, after the keynote, we're going to have an A-list panel discussing 3 very topical issues: entrepreneurship, health, and school feeding. As you know, school feeding has become a very big initiative which would help us to attain having more children in school, because education is one of our major challenges, and HLF plays a very significant role in that space. That panel is going to have the following persons who I'd just like to acknowledge their presence. Please, if you're here, just stand to be recognized. The country representative of Nutrition International, Mrs. Ayodele Gbemileke, please stand to be recognized. There she is, on my right. We're going to have the executive chairman of the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Hakeem Babajide Shitu. Please stand to be recognized if you're here. Not. We're going to have a food safety specialist, Mrs. Ido Alaba. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. We're also going to have the CEO of Kamari Nutrition Consult, Mrs. Amaka Okwesileze. Please put your hands together for her. The second panel is going to be focused on health, and there's no other organization that has done a lot in that space corporately than the MTN Foundation. We have the executive secretary here, Mrs. Oduayo Sonya. Please stand to be recognized, Mrs. Sonya. We have the state coordinator of the Society for Family Health in Nigeria, Mr. David Shegun Ayinde. Please stand to be recognized. We also have the senior analyst from the Clinton Health Initiative, Mr. Olatunji Oluyide. Please stand to be recognized. And last but not the least, on the health panel, we're going to have the zonal coordinator of the National Health Insurance Authority, and this person will be represented by Mrs. Aisha Abubakar Haruna, the Deputy Director, NHIA Lagos. Please stand to be recognized. The third and final panel will be on entrepreneurship. We're going to have the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, Mrs. Feishayo Alayonde. We're going to have the Country Director of the United States Africa Development Foundation, Mr. Andrew Echono, and the founder of Macintosh Consulting, Mrs. Tosin Ifesoya. And last on that panel will be a partner of the German industries in Nigeria, Mr. Tola Oni. So give all of them a warm round of applause so that they can prepare, and when it's time for their panel, they will do justice. And one of the things that Pastor Iluyomade said is that it's important that we should know our why. Why are we here? What is the purpose for which we are doing whatever it is that we're doing? And I can assure you that there's one man who knows what he is doing and why he is doing it. He has done it across the nations, supporting corporates, corporations, and individuals. And he's done it to the extent of setting up the CSR Institute. It's now my pleasure to invite for the keynote address our keynote speaker, Professor Wayne Dunn. Please put your hands together for him as he comes, and get your pens and papers and devices ready to take notes. Okay, so you turn it by yourself there.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How's the sound? So I can't stand behind there. I'm honored. Pastor, congratulations on the work that you've done, the people you've brought together, and the team that you've assembled with you to create all of this impact that we're seeing. I have to wake my computer up. It was sleeping. Okay, I don't know if this clicker is going to work or not, but if not, we'll get through it. So I want to talk today. We've heard such a compelling case for really what is the golden rule. It's doing unto others as we'd have others do unto ourselves. That's really the basis of it. Pastor spoke very eloquently about knowing our why, knowing our purpose, knowing why we're doing it. I want to talk about the why for business. I want to talk about the why for corporate social responsibility. I want to talk about what has driven that, and then how there is such a natural, almost, collaboration with what is being done by the foundation and by others, on how by collaborating we can do more, we can achieve more, and we can impact more. We can impact society and the environment more. So this was working a while ago. We've all, from the business side, we hear a lot of language around this. We hear a lot of language around sustainability, whether it's corporate social responsibility or sustainable development or environment, social and governance, ESG, or social license, or shared value, or social impact. Let's just set that aside and remember, as Pastor said, that it's all about value. It's about social value. It's about environmental value. It's about business value. It's about Christian values. It connects across. So I'm going to go very quickly through some of what has driven businesses of all types and all over the world to be paying a lot more attention to issues of sustainability and social responsibility. To do that, I want to step back a little bit and just think of the world. Think of the last 50 or 60 years. I know, the phone that's there, it's not that long ago that we had those phones. In fact, the village I grew up in northern Saskatchewan in Canada, we didn't have those phones until I was a teenager. It was very isolated. But we used to do all of our communication with letters. And suddenly the world has changed. We have, every one of us has in our pocket, on silent, remember on silent, or maybe with the batteries out for some of you, but every one of us has more communication power than CNN had when it started. You think of that. We have more communication power in our pocket than CNN had when it started. And that's part of what has really driven this issue for companies, because business is about creating value for shareholders, but as communication has become all-encompassing, everywhere is able to communicate with everywhere instantly, it brings the actions of corporations to a broader audience. And you're seeing that the expectations of society are shifting. Everywhere I speak, I teach, I work around the world, and I have for a long time on these issues. And I quite frequently ask audiences, whether it's in Indonesia or South America or Europe or Africa or Dubai, are the expectations of society towards business increasing, staying the same, or decreasing? Is society expecting business to do more, have more social impact, to be better at becoming an environmental steward, or are they staying the same? Everywhere, people are saying these expectations are increasing. Business is under increasing pressure to deliver social value and environmental stewardship at the same time as it's delivering business value. Not that business's role, that business's job is just to do social impact, it's not just to do environmental stewardship, but it's also set up now so that if you're not addressing social issues well, if you're not addressing environmental issues well, it becomes more difficult for your business to sustain and prosper in the long run. It used to be not so long ago that business could do a little bit on the side and really focus on the path to profit and not have to deal as much. Now, those issues have merged. The path to profit, the path to success has shifted, and business success really passes through social impact and environmental stewardship. And if business is not getting those issues right, they face increasing pressure and increasing risk. As part of this, a couple of new frameworks have emerged that have really become important for business, for all of us. And Pastor spoke to one of them, the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations came together first in September 2000 for the launch of the new millennium, and all of the member nations of the United Nations unanimously adopted the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, a set of 8 principles that guided development with a 15-year time frame. 2015 was the 15th year, and the world came together at the General Assembly of the United Nations in September 2015 and adopted the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which form the development framework for the planet. And unlike the MDGs, the SDGs were set up, as Pastor said, to ensure that none are left behind, and set up to not just be an instrument of government and civil society, but also to include business, to include everyone in this goal. And the SDGs are a very valuable framework for business. Business is under increasing pressure to deliver on social impact, on environmental stewardship, on community value and impact. All of these are embodied in the SDGs, and the SDGs can be a great framework for communication. As you see what the foundation is doing, you're seeing how they're using them. I have a couple of short videos that I just want to play, so I think this is going to flip to a video. It's about 2 minutes. It's just a little bit of background on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, so we all get to the same space on this.
Humankind faces many challenges to ensure that all people have the same development and well-being opportunities. In the year 2000, the United Nations adopted 8 objectives to meet the main needs of the poorest. 15 years later, 193 countries adopted the 2030 Agenda that sets out the Sustainable Development Goals, a new horizon with the most pressing challenges for human beings in the coming years. These are 17 ambitious goals that require the collaboration of civil society and the public and private sectors, whose success means a more egalitarian and livable world. The eradication of poverty and hunger so as to ensure a healthy life. Achieve universal access to basic services such as water, sanitation, and sustainable energy. Support the generation of development opportunities through inclusive education and decent work. Foster innovation and resilient infrastructures by creating communities and cities capable of producing and consuming in a sustainable way. Reduce inequalities in the world, especially gender inequalities. Caring for the environment by combating climate change and protecting oceans and terrestrial ecosystems. Promote collaboration between different social actors to create an environment of peace and sustainable development. If we achieve these Sustainable Development Goals among people, governments, and companies, we will make the world a more prosperous place for all.
So, you've seen what the His Love Foundation is doing. You've seen how they have developed some metrics around it. Of course, I don't know if there's any PhD economists in the crowd here, but if there are, I'll apologize. But there were too many PhD economists involved in the SDGs, and the framework, the metric systems that they set up for managing them were very intimidating. It's important at a national level, at a country level, for national accounts, for tracking some of it. But it really frightened business, if you will. The principles, the 17 SDGs, are something we can all understand. We can feel them in our heart. We can understand them. They're quite simple. There's something you can go and you can speak to the market women about alleviating poverty, about addressing hunger, about health. But the frameworks that were set up were very complex. And to start with, that really frightened business. Business was a bit afraid, and I don't blame them. But they don't need to be that complex. We don't need that level of complexity to make an impact. And we'll get back to this more later, but I want to look at this, and there's another wording, another framework, ESG. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it's become increasingly important for business. It stands for environment, social, and governance. And the importance of this for business is that the financial sector, the banks, the investment funds, the sources of financing for business, whether it's loans or investment capital, is starting to pay more and more attention to ESG performance, to businesses' ability to deliver on environment, social, and governance areas. So I've got another quick little video, and then we're going to talk about why this is so important for business, and then how that helps to really create the mutual beneficial opportunity for collaboration.
Put your money on ESG. Environmental, social, and governance, also called ESG, is a term used to represent the sustainable and ethical impacts of a company's corporate financial interests. While ethical, sustainable, and corporate governance are considered non-financial performance indicators, their role is to ensure accountability and systems to manage a corporation's impact, such as its carbon footprint or efforts towards diversity and inclusion. We'll cover what each ESG criteria entails, but you can read more about how CEOs are prioritizing sustainability by clicking the link above or in the description below. Each principle of ESG plays an integral role in the effort to increase focus on sustainable and ethical investments. Environmental factors focus on how much an organization considers the protection of natural resources. Examples include climate change, biodiversity, energy performance, air and water quality, and natural resource depletion. Social factors address how an organization treats people. Examples include global and local community relations, customer satisfaction, employee diversity, equity, and inclusion, employee engagement and relations, human rights and labor standards, and efforts to fund projects or institutions that will help poor and underserved communities. Governance factors examine how a corporation polices itself, with a focus on internal system controls and practices to maintain compliance. Examples include company leadership, board composition, including diversity and structure, whistleblower programs, executive compensation and policies, tax strategy, including audit committee structure, internal controls, and regulatory policies, and donations and political lobbying. Do you consider ESG criteria or sustainability when making purchases or investment decisions? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe too.
So this is a high-level approach, but it's being adopted as we'll see. Most of the capital that's becoming available, whether it's investment capital, whether it's loans for businesses, there is some focus on ESG. There are some quite complex ESG scorecards and rating systems, and we're not going to go into them. They tend to apply more to very large corporations, the corporations that have their own internal resources that are able to deal with a lot of this. There are a lot of companies, a lot of banks. We do some work with EcoBank, West Africa, and they've just raised a pool of money from a fund, and it's an ESG fund. So that's starting to drive some of their lending practices, some of their investing practices. When businesses are coming to them for loans, businesses are having to explain their ESG impact. What are they doing? What is their environmental impact? What is their social impact? How are they governed? These are becoming more important. Some estimates say that 85% of business investment decisions, so that's the funds that are investing or loaning money to business are taking some level of ESG performance into account, and up to 35% of the funds are actually pure ESG funds. They're only investing in activities that have an ESG component to them. The scorecards are a way of trying to develop a common rating system for it, but it gets very, very complex. So there's a number of scorecards. They're used by investors and fund managers. Most have some validity, but they're probably much more complex than is needed by the average business. They're more relevant to CFOs and CEOs, but they can also lead to that sort of check the box. I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. And you really miss some of the importance, some of the real impact that we heard about. And one of the challenges that smaller businesses, small businesses, businesses that aren't part of Global 100 or Global 500 businesses, is how do we get the data, how do we get the information to be able to report on what we're doing? Because everywhere, businesses recognizing that how they deal with environment, how they deal with social impact is increasingly important for their business success. One of the reasons that the financial community has really embraced ESG is because they see that business that is facing increasing pressure, society has increasing expectations that business should be delivering social value, be an effective steward of the environment, have good governance, at the same time as it's delivering shareholder value and creating business value. And they recognize, they see businesses that don't do that get into trouble with their stakeholders, that get into trouble with regulators, that lose their brand identity, their problems with child labor, their problems with environmental management. When that happens, that can really undermine a business's viability. And fund managers are asking the question, this is such an important strategic issue. It's getting more important every year. Every year it's more and more important. The expectations of social performance and environmental stewardship are growing. If this business is not addressing these issues, what else are they missing? So business is under this pressure, but it's not an easy story to tell. And I really, really like how the foundation has focused on data. This is the story Pastor told, the story we saw in the film is a difficult story to tell if you don't have data. And when you have the data to back it up, it becomes a much easier story to tell. And businesses facing that issue of how do we do our reporting on ESG? We don't want to be spending the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that are required to produce those complex ESG reports that a Global 100 company might do. But how do we get that data? How do we catalog and communicate our ESG impact? And this is one of the neatest formulas I've ever saw. On one single page, there's so much communicated. And this is important because finance and investing, as I said, it's changed. Sustainability has permeated the financial sector. whether you're looking at the Sustainable Stock Exchanges initiative, where I think the Central Bank of Nigeria in 2012 set out the principles for sustainable banking, and we've just come past the 10th anniversary of them. The United Nations Environment Program has a finance initiative. The entire financial sector is really embracing sustainability, and businesses that are not getting that, are not able to communicate their impact in that, are facing increasing challenges. The largest private investor in the world is BlackRock. They have over $6 trillion under management. That's not 6 trillion naira, that's $6 trillion. The CEO sends a letter to the companies they invest in every year. A couple years ago, the core message in the letter was contribute to society or lose our support. If as a business, you are not contributing to society, you're going to lose my support as an investor. Now, he didn't do that. His name is Larry Fink. He did not wake up one morning and say, oh, I've got $6 trillion in my pocket. I'm going to use that to change the world and alleviate poverty. He recognized that it's an important area, that business that is not addressing social issues, that is not addressing environmental performance, is a risky business to invest in, and investors don't like to invest in risk. I've got a short little, about 1 minute or 2 minute interview with him that I'm going to play so you can hear it in his own words. But this is not about the financial community wanting to change the world. This is about the financial community looking after its own why. Its own why is about how do they make a return on investment? How do they deal with risks in their investment? How do they understand?
I really believe the transformation of leadership, the transformation of businesses is about more and more leaders, and they're focusing on things about their stakeholders. They're connecting with their employees deeper and broader. They're connecting with their clients broader, and they're certainly trying to be more connected to their society. So much of that is in this letter. It is about moving forward on better disclosure, more complete disclosure, especially on net zero. Climate change and investing is something that is a powerful economic result. As we move towards a more sustainable world, it's going to create great jobs, it's going to create a great environment, and so we should not be frightened of it. We should all be embracing it and finding ways that we could be a part of that. And I think this is one of the big messages in the 2021 letter.
So all of this is driving this intersection of the why of the foundation, the why of finance, and the why of business. The demand for investments. Investors want to mitigate risk. They don't want to be investing in businesses with high risk profiles and lack of social impact, a lack of community engagement, a lack of environmental management are increasingly critical risk issues for business. As I mentioned before, ESG mandated funds, environment, social, and governance mandated funds is growing exponentially. It's part ESG, environment, social, and governance considerations are part of the majority of investment decisions that are being made. And it's not because suddenly bankers and the investment community decided that they wanted to change the world and make the world fairer and more equitable and a safer place for the poor, and to to help. Their why is not the same as the foundation's why. Their why is not a Christian social responsibility why, it's a corporate social responsibility why, but they get to the same place. They get to the same place. On a personal level, they may have the same personal motivation. They may have the same Christian motivation. But on an institutional and organizational level, they're really about creating that return on investment. They understand that increased return on investment will often align with social and environmental performance, aligns with business performance. Businesses that don't address social and environmental sustainability carry more risk. So sustainability, corporate social responsibility, ESG performance is important. It's important for the finance and banking sector. It's important for businesses seeking capital. If you look at the business side, increasing their ESG performance, increasing social responsibility will help improve access to capital. It'll reduce the cost of that capital. It reduces risk. It facilitates compliance with regulatory bodies. It helps to attract and retain the best talent. People don't want to go to work for a company they're not comfortable with. Work is such an important part of all of our lives, and the days of going to work and shutting it off are ending for many people. People want to work for companies and institutions they're proud of. If you look at the statistics we saw from the foundation, everybody that's here should be very proud of them. The same with business. People want to work for businesses that they feel proud of, that they're profitable, sure, that they're making good money, they're delivering value for shareholders, but they're also delivering value for society and being effective stewards of the environment. So I talked about the increasing expectations that society is expecting more of business. Society is expecting business to deliver more social value, to be a more effective steward of the environment at the same time as it's creating shareholder value. But that puts business in a pretty tough spot. Everyone is expecting more from a business. You put yourself in the seat of a business leader, of a manager, of an executive. Everyone is wanting more from you. You've got this pressure to deliver social value. You've got this pressure to be an effective steward of the environment. Society is looking for more, but at the same time, your shareholders are looking for more, your investors are looking for more, the banks that lend you money are looking for more. You've got to look after profit margins. Regulators seem to be challenging you more and more, and often regulators are keenly interested in sustainability performance. Operational challenges are getting more complex. And the business leader that starts to set back and think, okay, I've got to do all that, but how do I think about social impact? I know I've got to do more, and there's something out there, in society I can go and just do more. But those days of having enough resources that you could simply throw some money at a social problem, have an impact, and not get anything back out of it for the business, there's not the room to do that anymore. It's really important that as businesses is stepping up to meet the expectations that it's under, that it's also addressing the issue of its own interests. So the why for business is to create social value in a way that's having an impact on society, a positive impact on society, but also an impact back on business. They're not divorced. If you divorce them, you're losing a lot of value in the process. There's a need for business to bring the same efficiency and optimization thinking to social impact and environmental stewardship as they've traditionally brought to operations. It's important that you look at how can you deliver social impact? How can you deliver that societal value? How can you deliver that environmental stewardship in the most economical way? How do you look at it? We're dealing with malnutrition in schools. What's the cost per student for feeding them? What's the reputational value that comes back to the company for that? Is there a way to take that social impact and help it with the business? Maybe it's on their marketing, maybe it's on their regulatory relations, maybe it's on acquiring customers, maybe it's on acquiring employees. How do you meet the regulatory and reporting requirements? These are all considerations that your business executives are facing. They're dealing with them every day. They're not waking up and saying they're going to solve the world's social problems. They recognize that there's a need to contribute to society, to create social value, but they also need to survive as a company. And there's a need to optimize. There's a need to optimize so that you're, same time as you're creating your business value and impact, you're also creating social value and environmental value. And the pressures can be really difficult. If you're a business and you start to think the cost even of starting up something where you're going to create social impact can be overwhelming. You recognize the issues that need to be dealt with. You have your own business case, your own why for dealing with it, but it's really difficult to do it alone. And this is where collaboration can really make an impact. When we talk about driving collaboration for sustainable development, it reduces startup costs. You think if you're XYZ Bank, and you want to deal with malnutrition in an urban center, Lagos, say, how are you going to do that? If you're going to set up your own system for doing that, it's expensive. It takes time. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of money, and it's difficult to achieve the economies of scale. Collaboration can reduce startup costs. The pooled resources can increase impact. For every dollar that you put into it, for every naira you put into it, for every cedi you put into it, you can have more impact on society. So there's that. You can get an economy of scale. So you've got a larger volume and less costs. So collaboration can really increase the impacts and reduce the costs. I'm going to touch on a few points. You can't collaborate with everybody, and it's important that you pick the right partners. It's important we pick the right partners in life, in business, in our foundation, and everything. So there's a few things that I think are important. If I am in business, if I'm a businessman and I'm looking for a partner to collaborate with, I want someone that has a proven capacity to deliver social impact and value. I want someone who's already doing it, that I can be confident we can do more together, that we can go further together. You know, I want to be sure that we understand the value propositions, that I understand what's in it for my business, that I understand what's in it for my partner's organization, so that we have that mutual understanding that we're both doing something that's good for us, it's good for society, and it's good for each other. And the framework of looking at value to society, value to environment, value to the implementing partner, value to the business partner helps to define that. That is an area that you really want to understand. You want to understand it quantitatively and qualitatively. You want to be sure that there's clarity on governance and decision making, that there's clarity on reporting. Reporting is so important, because if I'm a business and I'm wanting to do more for society, I'm wanting to feel like I'm doing my part, but I'm also wanting to be able to communicate that I'm doing my part, because my financial backers are asking me, my employers are asking me, are you doing your part? My regulators are asking me, are you doing your part? So you want a partner that's able to produce the data and information that allows you to communicate what you're doing in a way that's going to meet your needs better. So I really like the term Christian social responsibility. And to me, there's just such a natural fit when you look at the needs of business, which is being driven by social pressures, by financial pressures, by the expectations of investors, and something like the foundation. You know, I don't want this to seem like it's a commercial for His Love Foundation, although they make an excellent partner. I think that's very well proven in many ways. But I want to show just the natural synergy between business and between an organization like His Love Foundation. His Love Foundation is a world-class example of what can happen in this area. And that sort of partnership can help further the goals and objectives of the foundation, of society, and of business. So there's that circularity, there's that mutual benefit that can flow from it. So I think I was told 40 minutes and the clock has just come to 0. So, but keep that in mind, that this is a critically important issue for business. And it's not because business is out to change the world. It's not because business has suddenly decided that its why, its purpose is about alleviating poverty or alleviating malnutrition in schools or providing health care or dealing with inmates and prisons. You know, the importance for business is that by dealing with these issues, it's fulfilling its responsibility in a way that's helping it to be a better business, to be a better receiver of investment. It's helping it to access more financing. It's helping it to reduce its cost of capital. And same thing for the foundation. The objective of the foundation is not to help business to meet its social responsibility. The objective of the foundation, as we heard, is about giving to the poor. It's about supporting the poor. It's about treating our neighbor as we would like to be treated. But they come together in this synergistic way where 1 + 1 can equal 3. We're doing it together. We can go farther, we can go faster, and we can have a lot more fun and feel better about doing it that way. I'm going to stop there. I want to thank the foundation, thank everyone who's here. You're here because you care and because this is important to you. And you probably all have your own way of thinking about this. And it's that integration of your thinking, my thinking, our thinking that helps to make this better as well. I'm going to be around for questions after. Thank you.
If you're looking for partners, consider the board, consider the reporting standards, consider their track record, and consider why they are doing what they are doing. And he put a caveat that it's not that he's doing a commercial for his Love Foundation, but we want to thank you for doing that commercial on our behalf, because we really do appreciate it and deserve it. And to everyone who runs a foundation or a corporate organization looking for partners, don't look any further. I reiterate what Pastor Iluyomade said. We are the beautiful bride. Thank you very much, Professor Don. Please put your hands together for him again. All right, in a short while, we'll commence the panel sessions. So please, can we start to arrange the seats for the panelists? Well, before that, we're going to take a group photograph. And as the photographer gets ready, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize, I have quite a long list. I have the chairman and founder of the Address Homes Limited and former group managing director of First Bank PLC, Dr. Bisi Onosanya. Thank you very much. We have the executive director of JNCI, Turnkey Medical Equipment Services. Please stand to be recognized. Voke Oshevire. Where's Voke? All right, thank you, Voke. We have Tosin Adeoti from Diamond Development Initiative. Please stand to be recognized. We have from the Africa Philanthropy Forum, Ngozi Obigwe Kunuji. From the Medical Women Association of Nigeria, we have Dr. Fumi Ige. We have the representative of the CEO of AXAB Mansard, who is the group head, Retail Sales, Lagos Island, Patience Onichabo. Please put your hands together for her. We also have the director of RCCG International Office and board member of the Holistic Outreach Ministry, Pastor Margaret Boluwakole. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. And the last sets of recognition. Please, all of you stand. All the APICPs of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Please, all of you rise. Let's acknowledge it together. And all the pastors of all the expressions of ministry of City of David. Thank you, APICPs. You can take your seats. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We also have all the pastors and ministers of the City of David who are our hosts. Finally, we have the representative of the Wisdom Group of the City of David. Please put your hands together for all of them. Now, I said finally, and I said lastly. Now, in conclusion, I want to recognize the leaders of today because they no longer want to be referred as the leaders of tomorrow. I was in primary school in 1985, and I was told that I was a leader of tomorrow. 30 years after 1985, the same person who was head of state came back to be president in 2015. And then I asked, so where is my future? So there are no longer leaders of tomorrow. They're leaders of today. We have the beautiful ones who are now born, the pupils of Glittering Stars School. Please stand. We have the pupils of Redeemer's Primary School. Please stand. And we have the students of Redeemer's Secondary School. So all of you, put your hands together for them. The future board members of His Love Foundation, the future pastors, the future APICPs, and the future leaders of Nigeria. Sorry, today's leaders of Nigeria. Thank you. You may please take your seats. All right, I'd like to invite to join us upstage for the photograph. The chairman, please come up to invite your guest, Pastor Ilu Yomade. Joining him on stage is Professor Wayne Dunn, the representative of the Consul General of the Canadian Deputy High Commission in Lagos. He's to the right. The representatives of His Royal Majesty, the Oniru of Ireland, please. Where do you want to stand?
Sorry, we have the patrons and the trustees. Uncle Tokes, please come forward.
Patrons and trustees of HLF. Thank you very much. All right, next we're going to take a documentary on one of the many expressions of the HLF, which is the school feeding program. Please enjoy the documentary, and right after that, we're going into the first panel session, which is the impact of school feeding and nutrition on academic performance, attendance, and nation building. We know that part of the reasons why we have out-of-school children is because their parents cannot afford to feed them, talk less of sending them to school. And this initiative has been able to take many children to school, children who would rather be on the streets hawking. Please enjoy the documentary, and right after that, we'll have the panel session. Thank you.
Every night, 828 million people go to bed on an empty stomach. That's according to the United Nations. At His Love Foundation, we felt we had a role to play, no matter how little, to help reduce the agony of hunger in our world. And so, we set up free daily feeding centers across Nigeria, where those who can't afford a meal in a day could stop over and eat once a day, free of charge.
For now, I don't have any other source or means of survival for now.
I've been coming here for 7 days. The food they always give us is plenty and is much. They always give us meat sometimes. They always give us eggs sometimes. They always give us water every day. And the food is always sweet.
I don't come here for 2 weeks. The food good. They give us good food. The food they plenty. They chop well. So, ain't they okay?
Ìgbà tí mo ti ń lọ gba feeding centers, ayé mi yí padà, oúnjẹ yẹn àárín jẹ, ọmọ mi náà ń jẹ, a dúpẹ́ f'Ọlọ́run.
This is in addition to 49,311 special centers spread across the nation, where the hungry can stop over and collect packs of food and foodstuff every Sunday.
When they are talking to you today, they can tell you the food I ate yesterday here is what sustained me throughout yesterday. And now I'm here again to eat the one for today.
Even if it's a meal, they have a day. If we keep them going, you see them, lot of people coming in and, you know, taking away food. You see their faces, they thank God that at least they see one meal to eat per day.
In 2018, we embarked on a special program to feed 50 million people globally free of charge. We have since surpassed this target.
In all, we have fed 125,251,239 people globally as at April 2024.
And we have our food bank, which is responsible for the distribution of foodstuff to beneficiaries in Nigeria and around the globe. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, our food bank shared 50,000 crates of eggs, plus foodstuff and groceries to thousands of people. In 2018, we started the school feeding program for pupils who can't afford a meal while in school. This initiative, which we started at Makoko School, Yaba, Lagos, now runs in 2 other schools, namely Glittering Star, Ikbonri, and Bethsaida School for the Blind, both in Lagos. We also remember those behind the bars at the correctional centers, and we provide for them. At the Kirikiri Correctional Center alone, we provide 5,000 packs of food every Sunday. Our aspiration ultimately is to ensure that no one, anywhere, goes to bed without one decent meal to feed the less privileged children in schools around our country and those in the inner recesses of the prison. Because we can't do it alone, we're now calling on you to join us as a partner. If you can commit to give 1,000 naira every month, yes, 1,000 naira or 12,000 naira for 1 year, you are a partner. And together, we will provide meals for those millions on the edge that cannot have one meal a day. And you know something? They are ever grateful.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá mi tó fún mi ní ìrẹsì nítorí pé lánàá mo ní ẹdìyẹ ìbílẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ pa ṣùgbọ́n kò sí nǹkan tí mo máa fi jẹ. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ògìgè torí nǹkan tí màá jẹ ní ẹ̀yìn Christmas.
Their joy is because of your 1,000 naira. And guess what? If you commit 12,000 naira at once, you'll get 1 million naira personal accident insurance, and that covers both road and domestic accidents, plus 100,000 naira reimbursement for medical expenses, courtesy our insurance partners. For details, visit our website. Join us. Be a change maker. Be a partner. His Love Foundation. Love in action.
Thank you very much. So it's 1,000 naira monthly, and if you're able to do 12,000 at once, there's a juicy offer of 1 million naira insurance cover. I'm sure that you all want to take advantage of that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to invite Professor Don back up stage and the chairman for a token of our appreciation. All right.
It's 12,000 naira a year, not a month. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I stand corrected, 1,000 naira every month and 12,000 naira a year. And that's still a very juicy offer to get 1 million naira insurance cover. So if I do multiples of 12,000, will I get 1 million naira for every extra? So I'm going to do 12,000 for 12 years, and then you're going to give me 12 million naira insurance cover. And my wife and my children and my grandmother and my great-grandmother. Yes? Those in favor say aye. Those against, keep quiet. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. All right, Professor Don, please join me up stage one more time. And Pastor Idowu Iluyomade. Please, can we have the plaque, which is a token? Please stand right in front of the podium. We appreciate your investment of time and the quality of presentation that you have made. Face the camera, sir. Face the audience. I'll do it. Thank you very much. Now to one of the high points of today. I'd like to invite the country representative of Nutrition International, Mrs. Ayodele Gbemileke, to please come take a seat. I'd like to invite Mrs. Idowu Alaba, who's a food safety specialist, to join me upstage. Take a seat. I'd like to invite the CEO of Kamari Nutrition Consults, Mrs. Amaka Okwesileze. And last but not the least, the Executive Chairman of the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Hakeem Babajide Shitu. This panel will be moderated by Mr. Olushola Malomo, who is the Chief Dietitian at the Lagos State Health Service Commission. So, ladies and gentlemen, your pens and papers to hear from experts who are walking the talk, who have paid their dues in CSR initiative. And just before they begin, let me recognize the pastor in charge of Region 2, Pastor Yemi Lebi, represented by Felix Owotuga. I also have the founder and chairman of Global Ambassadors Young Leaders Confederation, Ambassador Piegbe Emmanuel Webari. Thank you very much. Mr. Moderator, are you ready? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to stand on existing protocols. I want to appreciate Professor Don for that lucid presentation. Nutrition, as we all know, is not just an intervention. It is associated with productivity, and the first 1,000 days of life is very important in achieving nutrition output and results. For this panel discussion titled Impact of Food of School Nutrition on Academic Performance, Attendance, and Nation Building, I'll be leading a discussion around school feeding in Nigeria, the role, what the government have been doing. From farm to fork, we're looking at critical safety issues and other issues associated with nutrition. I'd like to take the first question, which is, what is the impact of school feeding on education, health, and nutrition? I want our country rep, yes, in person of Mrs. Ayodele Gbemileke, to shed more insights.
Thank you very much, sir, and thanks to everyone for inviting me. My name is Ayodele Gbemileke. I'm the Senior Program Officer on the Maternal and Child Health Program at Nutrition International. Dr. Sita, who is the country director, is not able to make it here, so that's why I'm here. So I just wanted to correct that impression. And now back to the issue on the impact of school feeding on the education, health and nutrition of children. We have seen a lot of things that the His Love Foundation is, doing. Is very, very worthwhile. In fact, we are actually doing what we ought to do as a nation to provide at least one meal for a child in school. We were at the field, when I mean at the field, at the communities, in rural communities recently, and there were a lot of children. You can't believe it. We are just talking about malnutrition, but the impact, Nigeria has not started to imagine what we are going to be experiencing in the next 10, 20 years if we don't address the issue of malnutrition. We saw lots of children, 2 years old, looking as if they are just 6 months old. And I was like, what? So is this serious? We can start to imagine the huge effect of malnutrition for our economy, for our productivity, even for the face of Nigeria. We had the nation, we had the giant of Africa, but if we don't address the basics of nutrition, the basics of having food for a child to go to school, what's the importance of going to school if the child is hungry? If the child cannot focus in school? If the child can, the first thing the child would think about, or even the parent would think about, is let's have money, let's, have other things. School is not the first thing they would think about. So for us, making this initiative to have school programs in the school is a very, very laudable initiative. And I think it's something that generations to come will bless us for. Not to talk about the education, the retainment in school, even for the girls. You find that many times when you have to consider for poor rural households who to send to school, they rather send the boys to school than the girls. So for us having school feeding, they don't have to think about, the girl child have to help with household chores or have to help at the farm. There is free food. So the girl will rise up and say, we have food in school, I can eat in school. That improves school enrollment, and it also improves the educational performance for the girl child. Not only that, it also helps the girl child to attain her full potential. Not only for the girl child, even for the male child. So if there is enough nutrition, they have very high cognitive development, and they can attain, they can be the best. We are competing. When I mean competing, we're just looking at ourselves as Nigerians, but we have other international countries there. The other time, if you compare, I was just comparing a 5-year-old child and a 5-year-old child of Nigeria and somewhere in Europe. You see the heights, because we know stunting level in Nigeria is about 37%, which is very huge. That means about 1 in every 3 child have not grown as tall as they should be.
Potential.
we are in trouble if we don't start thinking about these things. We call our children the future of the country. What are we doing about it? So school program is one way to start, although it's not enough, but it's one way to start looking at how to improve the education, the health. Even if they have food, they don't fall sick often.
Yes.
They have, their exposure to infection is reduced.
Of nutritional status.
They can focus now on their studies. They can have motivation to improve in their performances in school. Not even that alone. Look at their behavior. They don't have to jump the school fence or to go out on being exposed to sexual harassment and to take cocaine, for instance, or to become bullies or just area boys in the society. They have food to eat. They stay back in school and they study and they become the best. So if we as Nigerians start to take this kind of initiative to ensure that every child go to school, have food to eat, at least one meal, right? It's going to go a very long way, very, very long way to improve the indices of what we are already seeing in the country. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Shitu. Just for the record, the school feeding program was launched in 2005 in Nigeria, and Lagos State has also been among the pioneering states. Please, I want you to share some of the experiences with respect to enrollment in school, over dropouts, and also the school feeding program as an incentive for bringing students to school.
Thank you very much. I'm Olalekan Abilakim Olushola. I'm representing the executive chairman of SUBEB, Dr. Akim Babatunde Shitu. He's attending to some other official assignment, and he has asked me to stand in for him. He's very keen, was so keen at attending this program. That's why it took him time to actually assign this role to me. I'm the director in charge of school feeding program in Lagos State. I will not be doing justice to this forum if I don't start by appreciating His Love Foundation for the support they have given to Lagos State in terms of school feeding program. To the federal government, ditto for the state government. I tell you, internally in Lagos State, not just one MDA is handling the issue of nutrition. There is a state committee on food and nutrition, which comprises of officials from 13 relevant MDAs. And this tends to talk to the key word being championed by the key speaker of today, and that is the word collaboration. No one, no individual, no nation, no state, no local government can work in silos nor work in isolation. That's why you need to partner with people, relevant people. Know the people you partner with. I'm taking a cue from the speaker's words. And that is why Lagos State is not relenting at ensuring we partner with relevant organizations such as His Love Foundation. Please celebrate them for us. An hungry man, they say, is an angry man. When a child is hungry, can that child concentrate in class? Even if he attends class, can he or she concentrate in class? You can join me in giving the response. It's a big, I want to hear it from the floor. Can that child concentrate in class? That is why we have to keep appreciating the federal government, the state government, and NGOs championing the cause of nutrition. I tell you, when it comes to enrollment, as at 2021, we had about 119. As at pupils, because the federal government school feeding program tend to feed pupils in primaries 1 to 3. But I tell you, Lagos State is looking beyond that. The national program is being reviewed. towards ensuring that it comes out stronger and better. And thereby, and by so doing, they are looking at extending the program from primary 1 to 3 to primary 4 to 6, including our ECCDE. ECCDE, I mean the Early Childhood Care Development Education sector. That is the nursery section. We are planning to also include them in this program. School feeding is so germane. Nutrition is life. Life is nutrition. And when you say diet, it's not just anyhow diet. And that's why we must also give it to the federal government. I tell you, the menu table, that's why the program is tagged Homegrown School Feeding Program. It's natural. It's devoid of any form of processed food so that we can have the right nutrients. So it's not just giving meal, but giving adequate meal. That is the current nomenclature. So you see, the state government is not relenting in its effort at shoring up our efforts at improving the school feeding program. So I'll stop here.
Thank you very much. Please a round of applause. Now, let us look at the prototype school feeding program. What is the ideal situation? I'll be taking on Amaka Nwora. What are the best practices for a prototype school feeding program? What are the expectations?
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My name is Amaka Nwora. I'm the MD of Kamari Nutrition Consult. Kindly permit me to correct the impression, especially what's written on the program. I'm not representing Friesland Campaigner in this program. So I want to say that nutrition, importance of nutrition cannot be overemphasized. Why did I say so? We know that, like my colleagues have already said, that nutrition is the bedrock of life. I want also to bring to our notice the objective or idea behind this school feeding program. One of the reasons is to support, is to boost the nutritional status of children so that they will be able to learn. This is because certain nutrients are required, especially in this early stage of life, to help them to learn effectively. There's this adage that says that a hungry man is an angry man. When a child is hungry, he cannot concentrate. And so government, state government, federal government, and NGOs are making efforts to ensure that a child gets at least one meal per day to support that child to concentrate in the class. Because if the child is hungry, the child will not be able to concentrate. So there should be at least one meal. And that meal is supposed to provide adequate nutrients, not just food. You have to consider some of the key nutrients that will support brain development, the key nutrients that will also give them energy to be able to stay active and focus in the class. Okay, so ideally there should be at least one meal per child per day when they are in school. Meaning that if for in a month they should be able to get at least 20 servings, 20 meals within that month. That's if it's a month, 5 days in a week, then maybe 4 weeks in a month. Then ideally, the foods to be supplied must be high quality. The question is, are they really getting high quality food currently? I can say maybe not fully. Government is making efforts, and I want to really appreciate in a very special way His Love Foundation for all they have done and what they are still doing to ensure that our children, they don't just go hungry.
Thank you very much.
So we appreciate them, and we are saying that ideally it's not just the one meal. The food should have high quality and provide certain key nutrients to support the children. Then the foods should be prepared from locally available foods. It is not processed food that are imported from anywhere. It should be locally available. We are talking about sustainable development here. So if these ones are not locally available, if you give a child, for example, a particular type of meal today, and tomorrow you don't see it to buy, now that dollar is going up every minute of the day, you will see that that project will not be sustained. So ideally, the meals should be prepared from locally available foods to ensure sustainability of that project.
Thank you very much for your response.
So another one is that it's apart from sustaining there's also need to deworm the children. It's actually part of the best practices to be able to address the underlying cause of malnutrition. Remember, we are talking about things that can actually affect the development and learning of the child. So there should be deworming, and there should also be supplementation.
Thank you very much. Yes. I want to go to the food safety expert now. From farm to the table, there's a whole lot of supply chain. It's a whole lot of process. Can you share an insight of challenges from the farm to table in this school feeding program, so that we can know at junctions where we can mitigate some of these challenges? Just briefly, in 3 minutes.
First of all, I want to appreciate the organizers of this program, Yesufu Foundation, and for giving me the opportunity to talk about something I'm passionate about, which is food safety. It is not just enough to plan and have a framework for school feeding. When we look at the nutritional aspect, we also need to look at the food safety aspect of the food. How safe is that food? A lot of challenges that the school feeding program are faced in the past or are still facing right now has to do with post-harvest losses. A lot of agricultural produce after harvest will not be properly handled by the farmers, and thereby you have a lot of wastages, which you apply the supply chain in the long run during the supply of this raw material for the production of the meal we intend to give to these children. Poor road network is another insecurity, another challenges that the scheme or the initiative can face or has faced in the past. We also have issue of a crisis like flood, in which the farmers or the growers are unable to move their produce from the farm to the point of use or the point of production. That can cause reduction in quality and the quantity of the food that will be supplied for this scheme. Also inadequate storage, such as chilling, refrigeration, and proper ambient temperature of storing the products. If cold food is not stored at the right temperature, and dry foods are not stored at the right temperature and right relative humidity, it will accelerate spoilage and reduce the shelf life of the products or the raw material. And then it will reduce the quality and the quantity of the food that will be available for these children to feed on during the scheme. We also have the challenges at the table, at the fork, because food safety is from farm to fork. Everybody along that value chain needs to be involved. The food handlers, when they are not tested and we don't know their right medical state, it can also be a great challenge to the food feeding program. Poor sanitation at the kitchen or where this food are being produced is another challenge. The water portability, the water that is being used to produce this food Is it portable? Are they microbial safe? The chemical content in it, is it safe? Is it at the acceptable level? We look at all these critical control points, and as a food safety specialist, we look at the hazard analysis. Is there any biological, physical, or chemical hazard that is present in this food that can result in foodborne illness? Another challenge is also the hygiene of the equipment or the utensils that is being used to produce this food. Most times, some of them are not well cleaned or sanitized. And as a result, can lead to foodborne illness or contamination. When a raw food are being stored with food that are not raw, perishable food, like storing chicken and vegetable together in the same freezer without proper segregation, it can result in food contamination, cross-contamination, and it can be a challenge to availability and accessibility of the raw material that we use to feed these children. So if we are talking about nutritionally adequate food for feeding, then it also has to be safe. It has to be wholesome, so that we know that it's free from contamination and it's also free from causing any foodborne illness to the children. These are some of the challenges that the scheme has faced in the past. And to provide solution to this, while planning the legal framework, there should also, apart from the meal, there is need to conduct unannounced audits to the kitchen where these meals are being produced. Let's check out what are the cooks doing. Are they really using the right utensil? Is it clean? Is the environment clean? Okay. And also, are they using the proper storage? Raw chicken and fish, are they properly stored in the freezer or in the chillers? Where are the lettuce stored? Are we using the same cutting board that we are using to cut lettuce, to cut raw chicken? Because we know chicken carries a lot of bacteria. At the end of the day, this thing can cause cross-contamination. But through unannounced audits, we can checkmate and know what is being done. There should also be capacity building, training and retraining both the farmers, the growers, and the cook that are cooking this food on the importance of food safety. Not just providing adequately balanced food. Is the food wholesome? Is it safe? When the children eat it, will it nourish them? And also, is it going to cause foodborne illness or food intoxication?
Thank you very much.
These are the critical.
Food safety is one of the key words. Without wasting time, we'd like to take some questions before rounding out this panel discussion. I was told that there's some questions from the audience. If you have any question, okay. Because of our time, you can entertain only two. 1, 2.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a question. It was nice listening to all the panelists telling us how important it is for school feeding. And I wish we had been able to see, especially this question, or rather observation for the superb representative. I wish we'd been able to see the picture of the food that you serve the children as compared to what HLF serving. I have seen a picture of such, and the food is not in any way nutritional. Neither is it adequate for any child to eat. We also need to understand the fact that these children are from indigent homes. We know what Nigeria is going through now, and how many families can even afford to feed well, talk less of giving them nutritional meals. The last speaker spoke about all the problems, challenges of the value chain of the food from the farm to the table. How many homes have freezers? How many homes have electricity to power the freezer? Then talk less of the schools providing the food for them. The hygienic sanitation of the people preparing the food. The water, you're talking of potable water. Where is it in the schools? Lagos State and any other state representing, talking about food, feeding the children. You have to go back to the drawing board. We want to know how much is allocated per child, per day for feeding. We want to know the people who are in charge of these resources. And we want to know how they are deploying these resources to the children so that they are well fed. A lot of these monies are being diverted.
Thank you very much.
We also want you to be bold to come out and ask for partnership for those who can help you to deliver this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm indeed overwhelmed with that question and the speaker. With joy. I'm happy you raised this question. First and foremost, let me clear the air. I'm only waiting for us to, maybe towards the end, to say this. But I will start with it because you start by comparing our food with that of His Love Foundation. If I got you right. But I tell you, the federal government fed our children every blessed day. However, that of His Love Foundation, and that is one of the resentments I have about that school feeding. That's the feeding by His Love Foundation. It is a meal per child in a day in a school. Not every day. I stand to be corrected. So please, you see, nutrition, school feeding, we know is capital intensive. That is why, once again, I want to give it to the federal government and the state government who have been partnering with them towards ensuring the success of that program. Perfection, they say, lies with Almighty God. No one situation is perfect. We'll keep improving. But I tell you, the federal government and the state governments went through the 6 P's of planning, because it is said that poor proper planning prevents what? Poor performance. He who fails to plan, plans to fail. No one, government did not deploy and does not deploy resources to children to feed. No. If you are not clear about issues, you ask questions. Funds are forwarded directly to the recipient, that is the end user's account, that is the vendors themselves. Funds are forwarded to the account of the aggregators directly. We have about five of them in Lagos State, and we have about 1,313 food handlers in Lagos State. If you know any of them, please ask them.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, I'm coming, please. Okay. Everyone has, this has to be cleared.
Okay.
I'm on here. Ask any one of them, and they'll tell you they all have First Bank accounts. When money is released from the from FCT in Abuja, I tell you what they do. We have to be alerted. The states, generally, in turn, what would they do? We will now have to instruct the bank. The schedule of payments will be forwarded to our various LGAs for the health officers in each LGA to clear. It is only those vendors that are cleared, that are available to cook, that the monies, their fund will be released. That's how we operate. And I tell you, when it comes to supply chain, I want to buttress the point of the last but one speaker. In Lagos State, let us give it to my governor, Mr. Banjiri Sanwo-Olu. The road network now has greatly improved. Even prior to this time, a journey that would normally take about 3-4 hours now takes about just 45 minutes to at most an hour. So this greatly affected the supply chain in Lagos State positively. We have in Lagos our Eco-Meat van. So our children eat fresh meat. Yes, they eat fresh because Eco-Meat van goes to every nook and cranny of the state. Ditto for fish. In order to ensure the preservation of the fish, we are encouraged to make use of smoked fish. Both chicken and meat are supplied. When we first started, we had issues not with meat, but with chicken. There has to be that collaboration between the chicken aggregator and the fish aggregator. And we are making use of the Eco Meat van. The only time we had issue when we had that national power outage, which actually happened throughout the federation. That is why you hardly see or experience any child suffering from any form of illness arising from taking our meal. I can agree. I may want to agree with you when you talk about the quantity. But when it comes to quality, forget it. How? Give it to Lagos State. Give it to Lagos State. Secondly, for our food handlers, there is this regular capacity building for them. As the program is being reviewed now, to recommence very soon, we keep training our food vendors. As of this January, even in collaboration with officials from a civil society organization, we organize a capacity program for our vendors here in Sube. So give it to Lagos State.
Thank you very much. That was a good soup from Subeb. You can go on and on.
Let me now tell you, there was 10 officials from the federal came to Lagos unannounced. They came to Lagos unannounced. They now said, okay, where is the office? We went to the school. They want to see them, how they are feeding. We went to the first school. They were amazed when they saw them feeding.
Sir.
Because the second school, they were amazed.
Sir.
But I tell you, when we went to the first school.
We will meet you privately.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
let's
you very
clap
much.
for Lagos State. Amen. Hallelujah.
God bless
Praise
you.
the
God
name
bless
of the
you.
Lord.
God bless you. God bless you.
Mr. Moderator, you can round up now.
Yeah, thank you very much for that response.
Sorry. Excuse me, please. You pointed me first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, please,
Just
please make
briefly,
it very
time is
brief.
not on our
There were
side.
two questions. So, yeah, you said two questions. All right, so we've taken one. Who was the second one?
I was the first person.
All right, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Quickly.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Bayo Olubemi.
Please make it very brief.
I will.
Please. Thank you.
Sir, Lagos State, thank you. However, at the national level, and I'm talking about what I know, by the time an amount is allocated per child, I have experience and I know what I'm saying. By the time it gets to the real vendor, maybe the money is reduced to about 25%. Right. I am using this opportunity to call on the federal government and all the states. There is need for auditing.
All right.
What gets to the vendor eventually who supplies is like 20% of what was approved by the government. In my village school, my own village, the person who supplies what gets to her at the end of the day, and I am saying what I know, is 25% of what was approved by the federal government.
All right.
Islam Foundation, thank you very much.
Can we clear that?
Thank you. Sorry, you do.
There's a lot to be done by everybody. I tell you, the state alone, the federal alone cannot do it. Even Islam Foundation alone cannot do it.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Appeal to everybody to join.
Thank you very much. So you have asked for auditing. Yes.
Thank you. Please, let's keep it short and simple.
Take a final question. The lady already stood up, so let's just.
Yes. The last question, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Yesufu Abiodun. I'm the Managing Director CEO of FITC, and that's Financial Institution Training Center. It's an extremely exciting moment, and I would definitely thank you to you, Pastor Ido, for convening this. It's quite visionary, that I must say. I would also say kudos to all of the panelists. I do think that it's been a very wonderful plenary. I was just reading through the 17 SDG goals, and this panel alone addressed 5 solid goals. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, etc., etc. I think that what we are losing sight of, and that's to say that we are derailing the conversation into what is even much more important, is tying it to the whole visionary topic and theme of this conference, which is driving collaboration for sustainable development. And so what is the missing link?
The missing link from all we have discussed, which is fantastic deliberation, is how then does Lagos State, Federal, HTL partner to take this very visionary step further? And I will tell you that the resources are in abundance. I say that because I have consulted to several organizations in the financial services and energy sector. They are looking for initiatives such as what HTL is promoting and Lagos State is promoting to put money so that they can have great reports and risks.
All right, thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much.
As a central bank company, we work with all of those banks, and we're happy to give you the connections rather than drown this fantastic program and conference around great things. Let's focus on the theme of...
All right, with a panel of discussion still going on right there, even as they discuss the theme for this conference, driving collaboration for sustainable development, even as we discuss and promote CSR, the Christian social responsibility. Well, this is the much we can bring you in this conference. This is the much we can give you of the live broadcast anyways. That's because we'd like to go off at this moment to bring you the next program on the schedule of Dove Television. But what you're watching right now is the live transmission of His Love Foundation International CSR Conference, holding right here at the Trinity Towers of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, City of David, here in Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. But don't go anywhere, okay, because this program continues on our social media platforms. You can watch us on Facebook and also on YouTube. So please log on to Facebook and YouTube to continue the conference. I'm Lillian Ogedebe. God bless you and stay tuned to Dove TV.
For the best of Christian TV, it's Dove TV.
Are you ready to ignite your creative spark and take the world by storm? Have you ever dreamt of mastering the art of writing, directing, capturing breathtaking moments through cinematography, lightening up the set like a pro, and putting the pieces together through editing? Guess what? We have wrapped it all up in one sensational package. It's time to step into your full potential and embrace the incredible journey that lies ahead. Welcome to the RCCG Global Drama Conference 2024.